Coming to you from the Deep South, this is the Blue Collar Leadership Podcast. High-impact leadership is not reserved for leaders, and it has nothing to do with your position, title, or rank. However, it does have everything to do with your character. It's time to climb to the next level and beyond, personally and professionally. Now, let's start making it happen with your host, Mack Story.
All right, welcome to the Blue Collar Leadership Podcast. Today I have the privilege of introducing you to Mr. Mike Hough. And Mike is the CEO of GAT Airline Ground Support, and they're headquartered in Peachtree City near Atlanta, Georgia. Actually, only about 5 or 6 miles from where I live, so that's pretty neat. And GAT has, last time I talked with Mike, they had around approximately 5,000 team members, and he'll be able to catch us up on all that pretty soon. But one thing I know about Mike is he's one of those rare leaders at the top who truly gets it, and it's pretty neat to have him talking with us today. And he's a busy guy, and I think he's in the Sky Club. He told me, so there may be a little background noise, but that really doesn't make any difference. But that's the life Mike lives, traveling all over the place by plane, I'm sure. So welcome to the Blue Collar Leadership Podcast, Mike.
Thanks, Mac. I'm really excited to just chat with you about what's going on at GAT and tell you what's happening.
Yeah, y'all were growing like crazy when we first met about 6 months ago. Or last July, I actually looked it up. It was July 29th when we met at that Starbucks and had our first chat. So what's been going on with you guys over the last few years and recently?
Yeah, it really has been an amazing growth story. We've been growing like crazy, just trying to keep up with market demand. So, I joined the company back in 2017, the summer of 2017, and I was been in the industry for a long time, left for a bit of time, and then little old GAT, which was a 40-year-old company that had been just chugging along, a good solid operator at sort of a mid-level performance for our industry, was acquired by a majority stake by a private equity firm, and the PE firm Atlantic Street Capital reached out to me and said they were looking to take it to the next level and was curious if I was interested. And it's just been a complete joyride since then. We've been on, since that time, a 33% compounded annual growth rate, and just trying to do things a little bit differently with a lot of values at our core, a lot of character in how we go about things, and then taking a little bit of a different tact on the industry, driving some technology and trying to make sure that our frontline team really feels like they're a part of something special.
Yeah, you guys, you have an amazing team, but you didn't start out your career at the CEO level, did you?
No, sir. I started throwing bags on the ramp trying to get through college.
How long ago was that?
That would have been 24 years ago now at this point. No, longer, 26 years ago. Little airline called Great Lakes Aviation, my hometown of Marquette, Michigan. I'm what you call a Youper. I'm from the Upper Peninsula, which is sort of owned by Michigan, but disowned by everybody. We're our own country up there. Small town, I grew up in a town of about 3,000 people, and Marquette, where the airport was the big metropolis. I think we had about 20,000 people at that point in time, and I just couldn't wait to I was working at McDonald's, which is where I met my wife, and we were just dating then, and my dad called me and said, hey, if you want to have a fun job, I hear there's openings at the airport, and I went out there and learned how to be a ramp agent, loading bags and getting airplanes into the sky.
Yeah, that makes a big impact on your empathy for the folks out on the front lines making it happen, doesn't it?
It does, and it's not just empathy, right? It's just people being people and trying to connect and make sure that what's really important is the front line. It's fun. I was just in Eugene, Oregon, celebrating an award we've gotten from United Airlines last week, and I tell everybody, hey, look, my favorite time is being around the people that make it happen on the front line. And leaders, all we do is make sure that we create the right environment for them to do that successfully and to enjoy it while they do it. And if you're not doing that, then you're not being a leader.
Yes, yeah, man, that's awesome. And you guys got that award, and it's not been too long ago. I saw you got another award from Delta. You probably get awards all the time, but those are two pretty big ones that came recently, right?
Yeah, Delta was an awesome one, Mac. We got awarded Supplier of the Year for 2019, so it was kind of fun. We were we're in a room of all of our peers, CEOs and COOs of the big ground handling companies that Delta uses, and we didn't know what was coming, and Delta announced in front of our peers that we were Ground Handler of the Year for 2019, and that's an awesome thing to hear, not only in front of your peers, but also to celebrate with all of your team members. It's just a lot of fun.
That's outstanding, man. So you and I met. I remember I got a message on my LinkedIn account. Seemed like maybe it was a Friday afternoon or something like that, and again that was out toward the end of July in 2019, and just got a message said you had read my book, Blue Collar Leadership: Leading from the Front Lines, and you wanted to talk to me. So we got on a phone call, I think that Saturday, and then tell me from your perspective, how did all that happen that you found that book, and that's the book for the entry level people? Yeah, it was even faster than that, Mac. So what happened is I was poking around on Saturday morning just checking out my LinkedIn, and some guy had said, if you lead a blue-collar workforce, you got to read this book, and it was your book, Leading from the Front Lines. And so I downloaded it, a couple of I don't remember how many chapters, maybe 20, 30 chapters, a couple of pages each. Flipped through that in about an hour and a half, and it struck me what a phenomenal story that is to hear for a frontline blue-collar worker. I was thinking, man, if somebody would have given me something like that when I was a ramp agent, who know where I'd be now, much less in the job I'm in. And so I did. I sent you a LinkedIn message and said, hey, I'd love to hear more about you, and I want to know, this is great, but how do you get this to happen at the front line? Your message back to me was, well, let's get on the phone. I'd love to talk about this stuff. And you called me really an hour later, I think it was. So all happened on a Saturday. And the coolest part of that story is when you said, well, where do you live? And I said, well, we're headquartered to Peachtree City. And you said, well, that's where I live. You've got to be kidding me. So you didn't know that
you and I
before.
No, I had no idea. Just some guy I reached out to was an author of a book, and by the way, didn't think an author of a book would ever respond to me. So it was great that we connected that fast. And then we met that very next Monday at that Starbucks, Mac. We spent a bunch of hours, you, me, and Rhea, just talking about, how do we actually make this happen at the front line. And man, it's been just a fun journey ever since then.
Yeah, man, you were on fire. I remember us talking that day, and on the phone, you said something about those principles, like they resonated with you, but you said something about the way they were written in the book made it easy for people to understand. I remember you telling me that.
Yeah, the most important part I think I got out of it was the power it held for the individual, right? So I think, one of the things you said in that book, because it was how you thought about it, was this isn't about you being great for the company you work for now. This is about you being great for yourself. And you can go to work surly every day and be upset about your environment, but what if you just took a different approach? What if you just woke up and decided you wanted to lead your own life? And I thought, my goodness, if we could get that in the hands of every one of our frontline team members, and whether or not they stay with GAT for another 10 years or another 10 minutes, didn't matter to me. If that would make them successful in their own lives, whatever they chose to do, that's powerful. And that's really why I reached out to you.
That's awesome, man. And I mean, that's why I think so highly of you. All the leaders who I consider high impact, either business owners or CEOs that are clients of mine and Rhea's. You guys all get it at that level you just said. You want people to be successful, you want them to stay at GAT, but they don't have to stay at GAT. You want them to be successful in life, which causes them to actually want to stay at GAT probably more or longer than they would if you were trying to restrain them.
Yeah, a little selfishly, I know it's got that opposite impact, but and at the same token, it didn't matter if it didn't. Look, the way I think about it is we have a high turnover environment anyway. It's a blue-collar workforce with a lot more restrictions than a lot of blue-collar workforces. You got to show up at the airport an hour before your shift because you got to find parking. You got to take the shuttle bus. You got to go through security. That's just to start your shift. To even get the job, you got to undergo a criminal history records check, and you got to be drug-free and all that stuff, right? So it's a tough gig to have this job. And so we know that we're going to have high turnover because it's just a kind of a tough life to live. There's no question about it. But if that means that we train this year 5,000 new hires and they make their lives better by going through a leadership program like yours, and then next year we train another 5,000, and next year we train another 5,000, I feel so much better about the people that have touched GAT and left than if we weren't doing that.
Absolutely. And that's going to happen. You already know that to some degree it's going to happen. You're going to retain some, and some are going to move on. But what's awesome is, like you're saying, the impact you and GAT as a whole are going to have on the industry. If those folks leave and go to the industry, they got a lot of value out of not just you're sharing my stuff with them, but anything you guys are doing to add value to them. It's kind of like GAT's putting this stamp on the entire industry, and you're kind of becoming especially related to leadership development, whether it's my stuff or someone else's. If you're dumping that stuff on them and then they're going somewhere else and taking it with them, you're gaining a lot of influence through the industry, through people.
Yeah, for sure. And I'll tell you, we what I was really looking for is some kind of leadership training for our frontline leaders. And I know that your material really wasn't designed initially for that. It was really designed for the individual to take control of their own lives. But that's what I wanted to connect with you on originally was because, look, in our industry, same way I grew up, the only way I learned was through osmosis. But when I was coming up through the industry, the folks that were around had been on the ramp for 25 or 30 years already. There was a lot to learn. Well, now with the way the industry is structured now, people are only in a supervisor role for a year or two before they get promoted or before they leave and go do something else, right? So that experience level of the frontline leadership, there is no formal training. And you can do training a bunch of different ways, right? You can bring all your supervisors together once a year and train them how to be a leader. Well, that's a great rifle shot in the arm, and everyone feels good. But 3 days later, after they've gone home, no one remembers anything about any of that stuff, right? So. Yep. So it was, how do you create something sustainable and functional that will really so we started, Mac, with the idea that you could, and again, this is industry changing. We wanted to be better than everybody else, so you could do some computer-based training. And we tried that. We piloted that in a bunch of locations. But what happens if you're a frontline leader who likes being in operations? You sit in front of that computer for 3 hours, click, click, click. You're not reading or getting any of that information in your body. So then when I ran across your book and said, how do we do it? I'll tell you, a little aha moment was when I was getting through the book study that we're on now, the 7 Habits. Give me the title of the book, Matt.
Yeah, the Blue Collar Leadership and Culture. We talked about that day.
In culture. That's right. So we're using that book in a book study now, and I'll tell you more about that and tell the audience more about that here in a second. But the aha for me, I think it was chapter 28. You and I spent all that time together with Rhea. We talked about what to do, and you said, what you really got to do, Mike? You got to do a book study. And I thought, oh, that's brilliant. Let's do that. And then we're reading through this book. We get to chapter 28, and what does it say? Do a book study. Oh, gosh, he could have just pointed me to that chapter. But
it's powerful, though, right?
It is powerful. The idea is we started at my team's level, and I got to tell you, when you walk into a room with C-level executives and say, guess what we're going to do every week, guys? We're all going to get in this room, and we're going to read from this book, and you're all going to read a paragraph, and then we're going to talk about it. Everybody's shaking their heads at me because I'm the boss saying, okay, yeah, boss, we'll do it. And then inside they're going, what in the heck is this guy saying?
It's like elementary school. Everybody feels like they're back in school.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And so what we did is we did, we got ourselves going, right? We did first chapter the first week, and then, folks are a little lukewarm. Second week they came back, there's a lot more conversation. Third week, everybody's into it, and I'm here, man, I'm glad this is happening, right? It's week 3, let's do it. And then after we did it that week, I said, okay, now your turn. So what do you mean? Now you do it with your team. And then you're going to do 3 chapters, then they're going to do it with their team, and they do 3 chapters. And so now we're all the way at the frontline supervisor level, about 6 layers in the organization down. Everybody reading the book, but at the supervisor level across the organization, we're around chapter 17. And here's what I say to the organization. Guess what? Not only do we get a chance to do this once a week, and we get 30 minutes to spend time just thinking about how to lead better, we're going to have the opportunity to do this for years because Mac's got a lot of books, man. So we'll just keep going.
I'm telling you, and it sounds like if you really do that, it's going to be phenomenal what happens in your organization. Most people overlook it. It's too simple. And then, like you said in the beginning, everybody's making the little remarks and rolling eyes. Maybe not doing it to your face, but you just know they're doing it because intuition tells you that's what they're feeling. But once you get going, it's amazing.
Yeah, there's no question about it. It's been life. We're doing a lot of things at GAT, but this is one of the things from a leadership perspective that just you can't. It couldn't be replaced any other way. And now I have senior leaders who love to tell our customers about it, and frontline leaders who love to tell our senior leaders about it. And Nelson Camacho, our COO, was out in El Paso 2 weeks ago, and he's meeting with the frontline team and the frontline supervisors, and he said something to the team about, how are you guys reducing your turnover? And one of the supervisors raised his hand and he said, well, Mr. Camacho, that's easy. We're just hiring for character now instead of competency, and we'll train competency. And Nelson came back and couldn't wait to tell us all that story about what they're learning and how they're articulating what they're pulling out of the book.
So I'm gonna back up just a little bit, but we'll come back to that right there in a second because that's really good. But you asked, we met at that Starbucks that day, and I think you were the first person to ever get Blue Collar Leadership and Culture. And the subtitle of that book for anybody listening is The 5 Components for Building a High Performance Team. But I had just published it, just released it. I brought you a copy. I actually brought you a copy of all 5 of the Blue Collar books, the one for supervisors, frontline, teamwork, Kaizen, and culture, and then you already had the other one. But you went and purchased, just from us talking about the culture book, if I ain't mistaken, you went and ordered like 14 copies that day before you ever even read it.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Yeah, I just knew that it was, because of what it was, is the blueprint of all the other books, right? So I just knew that it was the right place for us to start and make sure that we had, and that was how we got started with that executive team, is, let's just start. You can analyze every decision under the sun all day long. Our culture is one of a high-energy, high-commitment organization, so we like to just start. Now, look, Mac, we could have gotten a few chapters in and said, this is the worst thing we've ever done, and closed the book and never come back to it. But we didn't. That's not the way it went, and we just like to fail fast. In this case, win fast.
Yeah, because you guys, you ordered those 14, you got started. I guess you read the book or got started in the book, and almost immediately, you guys ordered I know you ordered at least 600 copies at a minimum of that Blue Collar Leadership Culture book. You may have ordered some others, but and then you, I can't remember exactly, but I think you brought in like 2 top leaders from 48 states you guys operate in, and then 2 from 12 locations in Canada, I think, at the time. So you had you put 120 people in the room with us, your top leaders from all over the country in Canada, right?
Yeah, we took advantage of your special, which was, buy a bunch of books and get some great sessions with you. We had not yet started the book study all the way down to the supervisor level. Most of the GMs, by the time we got in the room, which was the idea, was that they had at least been through 1 chapter. So general managers and ops managers, regional vice presidents, corporate team members, we bring everyone together once a year, and we always do something to get the team energized. This was going to be different because this was going to be, you've had a little bit of engagement with this book. Now you're going to meet the author and his motivation. Right? Let's call you his motivation, Graham. And maybe his keeper is a better word. And then and then we're going to launch into what we do next, right? And what we do next is make this really culturally part of who we are. And it was just really powerful to have you both there and to share your stories and to really make it come alive for everyone. I think that was a key component of us really being successful in the launch.
What kind of feedback did you get after we left? I had never really, I don't think, asked you this question, so I don't really even know what your answer is going to be. But after we were in the room and they kind of knew what you were setting up, and that afternoon or the next day or two, how did people think? People that you thought would be on board, people maybe you thought wouldn't be on board. What was the value of having us in the room compared to just starting the book study?
Yeah, I think, look, it was just clearly extremely positive. There was no one. There were no negative, comments at all. There's always the guy that wears the grumpy mask to work every day who maybe he didn't say it was the best thing he's ever been through, but said, yeah, let's give it a shot, right? That's all you can hope for from a guy like that, and now that guy is doing quite well in the culture we're trying to build. So, but I think, look, everyone, it just resonated because it's authentic, it's real. It's from people who have lived it, and it just made a huge difference in terms of credibility and buy-in.
Awesome, man, and we appreciate it. I know we still got some time, a couple of half-day sessions you guys still have in the bank that we'll get to do with you later. But you're doing more than just leadership training at GAT. In addition to leadership training, you've been focusing on the front lines in other ways, and the entry-level blue-collar jobs, like you mentioned before, they can have a high turnover. So what's GAT doing to make team members feel like they want to stick around beyond leadership training?
Yeah, I think there's two things. One is, well, there's a bunch of things, but two that I'd like to highlight. One is we've partnered with a company that helps us do front side assessments, and not an assessment in the way you normally think about a bunch of bubbles you got to fill in and somebody gives you a personality at the end of the day. It's every single person who applies with us goes through it's a computer-based picture assessment. It shows a picture of somebody gardening, and all you do is click me or not me. Picture of a firefighter, me or not me. Picture of somebody volunteering, me or not me, right? And it takes you 3 to 5 minutes to go through that very simple exercise. And then what we've done is we've baselined our top 100 ramp agents, customer service agents, cargo agents with their profiles. We're bouncing every applicant against those profiles, and if you're a match, you're colored either green, yellow, or red on your application process. And then those greens are the people that match closest to the kind of the perfect fit individual. And what we're trying to do is make sure the job's right for the person, not the person's right for the job, right? So then we only interview the greens. And we found that by doing that, we're reducing turnover because we're making the right kind of match for both people. And then, we're really trying to shorten the process. So if you're a blue-collar worker, you can't wait 12, 14, 25 days to end up in a job. You typically are looking for a change from where you are, or you're unemployed and you need to get employed right away. So if it takes us a long time to get you through the process, we're screwing that up if we don't work fast. Somebody else is going to get you before we do if you're agreeing, right? So we've really shortened that entire application timeline process to get people in the door faster. Then we create these great leaders on the front line of supervisors who really know how to engage and lead people. That's huge, and just creating the environment that people want to be a part of. And the third piece is ask them. So, everyone does employee engagement surveys. Well, not everyone, but certainly not everyone in our industry. But we've taken it a step further, which is we want to hear from you all the time. And then we also do formal surveys every 6 months. And it's only 10 questions. It's very simple stuff. It's anonymous, so you can be as honest as you want to be, and then you can write in all the comments you want to write in. And we learn, and we take those scores by station, so we know in every single operation what's going on in that operation. And then the real power comes from what happens next. Our general managers have to take the bottom 2 performing scoring questions in each operation and have a town hall meeting with their entire team and say, hey, look, your feedback is that we're not really good at, say, making sure you're appreciated when you do a good job, and we're not really great at making sure you know what promotional opportunities exist for you. What do you, team, think we could do better or more effectively to improve on these 2 things? And then you got to meet every single month and talk about, what the actions that you set in place, are we making progress against it, or aren't we? And then we ask that team again 6 months from now. The other thing we said to our leaders is we're serious about this. We're serious about the culture we have and how our team members feel about it. So much so that your bonus, if you're a bonus eligible position, is going to be, including mine, is going to be tied to our improvement against these scores. If we don't get there, then there's no reason to bonus you because we're not living up to our values. So that's made a huge difference in terms of what our frontline leaders are paying attention to.
That's awesome. How long have you been doing everything you just described? All that start at once, or did it kind of leapfrog?
No, little pieces as we go, right? So the assessment piece we started probably about 18 months ago on the front end. We're now through our 2.5 rounds of this of the employee engagement surveys. So that's been going on for probably about 10 months. And then what's kind of fun is you go out and look at the third-party reviews of your organization. People go out to Glassdoor and usually tell you how mad they are at you after they leave, right?
Yeah.
But what we started doing is benchmarking that score against all of our peers, our competitors in space that do what we do, and we love that chart because it shows us at today I think we're like a 3.8 as our score, which is a really high score, and we don't have a single competitor above a 2.6 or maybe a 2.7. So we were getting external validation that even the folks that leave us unhappy are leaving us happier than they're leaving other people.
That's good stuff, man. Because I talk about it in the culture book, word of mouth advertisement. That's a big deal, ain't it? What are people saying about your organization? Why they work there and after they work there? Both of them matter.
Yep, absolutely. And there's still plenty of people who give us all kinds of negative feedback in our internal and in our externals, and we own that. We take that extremely seriously, and we do whatever we can to pinpoint root cause and get hard after it. We've got a regular review of those public things that get posted, and we don't comment back. Look, we don't think it's our job to debate anyone. It's our job to learn from what they say and be better.
Yeah, you can't win a lot of those debates out there in social media world. I learned that, on LinkedIn. I don't do a whole lot of conversation with people, especially people who are negative, because what I've learned is you can't teach somebody or really understand them, and they can't understand you in a couple of comments back and forth spread out over a couple of days or however long it takes to get back and forth. That's not a good platform. So I think you're right on track with that, not putting it out there and debating it out in that format. So in addition to focusing on your leaders and your team members, you've been driving some technological innovations in the airline ground handling space too. So what can you tell us about that? Anybody out there who's maybe in your industry, or maybe they're not in your industry, but they're listening to you and they know who I am, so they know if you value me and I value you, there's people out there listening that maybe want to switch industries or switch organizations. What's some of that technological stuff you guys been doing?
Yeah, I'll tell you, we've had a number of things that we've delivered on. We've been able to build out a really robust key performance indicator roadmap, which a lot of ground handlers don't have. So airlines all have their own various scores, right? And typically the performance on things like bags that get mishandled or on-time performance for airplanes are issued to local general managers in the form of a PDF file that can't ever really be read centrally. So if you're the CEO or COO of an organization like us, you're like waiting to find out how we're really performing. Typically, you don't know until a customer calls you and tell you you're doing a bad job. So one of the things we built was the ability to get all of that data into a centralized data warehouse. Seems simple, but no one's really ever done it before, and be able to learn how we're doing on a given metric across all of our airline customers, or within a region, or within a given airline, or all metrics for an airline, et cetera. So that's one key innovation that's really allowed us to get in front of performance. The next is this really cool thing that we think is industry changing called GAT Ramp Vision. And Ramp Vision is the ability to video every one of our aircraft. So one of the things that we do is, on arrival, the guys are on the ramp with the orange wands that marshal the aircraft in and get the bags off and get the bags on, et cetera. That's a really safety-sensitive position, because you've got these blue-collar workers, and we already described as a high-turnover environment, high training requirements, and they're driving, very, very heavy pieces of equipment around very thin sheet metal aircraft. And so you've got to make sure that you've got, military-like precision on your procedures. And historically, the industry's tried to audit that through people watching. Well, when people watch, everybody knows, and people do exactly what they're supposed to do. And the very next day, a guy does the wrong thing and impacts an airplane. So we said, well, how do you watch 100% of the time, all the time? And so we've built this Ramp Vision technology that has 2 cameras that are watching every single aircraft arrival and departure. And that data is then being sent to a third-party auditor overnight, which gets put into a web portal the very next day. So we know from a safety perspective, you're supposed to stop 3 times as you approach the airplane to make sure your brakes work. Did everybody do that? Oh, no, Tommy didn't do that on this turn. And by the way, here's Tommy's picture. And how many of the times did that happen with Tommy? How many times did that happen in Orlando, et cetera? And that technology, 100% audit of every flight every day, allows us to celebrate people who are performing extremely well, but then mitigate risks long before they ever become aircraft damage. That is all new in this industry and stuff that will really change the game, we think.
That's outstanding, man. And it raises awareness like immensely compared to the way it used to be, right?
Absolutely. It's everyone espouses safety as a core value and as their top priority, but if that were absolutely true, I think technologies like this would have been developed a long time ago. And we're just saying, and to your point about how does this stuff maybe apply to other industries or get folks excited to join this industry, we stole it from, you wouldn't believe it, from cell phone stores. So cell phone stores were using this. They were using this technology to do facial recognition of their sales team and observing customers as they came into the store and determining which of their salespeople did the best job at converting people who came into the store into a sale. Because if you don't have that kind of technology, all you can do is look at the receipts from the cash register and see which customer service agents were having the most sales. That doesn't mean they had the best conversion rate. And we thought, wow, we could use that technology to do something very similar from a safety perspective.
That's awesome, man. So what's next for GAT? You guys growing and going. What's next on the horizon?
There's no end in sight. We think that we've got a long-run roadmap on looking for some other acquisition partners. We've had a couple that have come to the table, one that's been completed so far. We think that we'll continue to drive a completely different feel and culture in the space that we're in. We think that we will continue to become a preferred supplier for the airlines that count on us to deliver a safe and on-time operation for their customers. And, this 33% compounded annual growth rate, even as we get bigger, we think we can maintain that for the foreseeable future. So continue to focus on our team, drive a value-based organization, and be innovative wherever we can and create real value for both our customers and our shareholders.
And you guys definitely have the foundation to make that happen. So, and you guys are still going through the culture book. So from my audience listening, they may have heard me talk about these book studies, but you said you guys went through a couple of sessions through the book study, you and the C-level leaders, your VPs, I guess, and the other C-level folks.
Yep.
And then you said, okay, now you're going to start doing the exact same thing. But you guys didn't stop. Y'all went all the way through 30, but it was kind of like a tiered waterfall going down through the organization. People were going through one themselves, and they were leading others through one at the same time. Is that right or wrong?
That's exactly right. So every team would do 3 chapters, and then that team would then take it to their team and do 3 chapters, and then they would take it. So it would be cascading waterfall throughout the organization. That's right. And
they were participating with their leader. I'm sorry.
Go ahead, Mac.
I was just saying they were participating with their leader at the same time. They were taking other folks who report to them through it.
That's exactly right. And the value is you got to participate as a team member, and then you got to participate as a leader in that conversation. You got to do it twice. It was, that's really powerful. What's
awesome is you actually doing it like the way I recommend people to do it. Hardly anybody does it that way, but the best people do it that way, and that's awesome. So you guys are still in the culture book, so you haven't really got into the blue collar leadership book that you first read or the supervision book.
Nope, that's next.
One for this.
Yep.
Yeah, those. When you get into that content, and you and I hadn't talked about this really, but when you get into that content, I mean, you're doing exactly what I teach in that culture book. You're helping everybody understand why are we about to go do what we actually hadn't done yet, right? That's one of the things when you went through the culture book, you saw what the big picture, right? You're helping everybody see
That's right.
Exactly habit 2 of the 7 habits, beginning with the end in mind. You're going slow to go fast.
That's exactly right. And the big next aha for us is to make sure that we can get all the way to the front line. And so, we made a commitment in that meeting. We haven't been able to execute on it yet, only because we want to make sure we've got the foundation in place. We want to put that first book that I read in the hands of every one of our team members as they come on board at GAT. So, we got to figure out, when I think we'll be ready for that, but we're not too far from that now.
Yeah, and you're talking about the one I wrote, the first one you read, the one I wrote for entry-level blue-collar workforce, but you want it in everybody's hand, regardless of what their level position is, because you got a lot of value out of it, like you said.
That's right.
And you took it home to your daughter.
I did, yep. My 18-year-old got the full session. Well, she's 19 now, just turned a month ago. She got the full session, and my kids get, my 15-year-old son and my 13-year-old daughter get snippets of it every single week as we chat through ideas on how to be better leaders.
That's awesome. So I have a lot of people in all kinds of blue-collar industries that listen to this podcast. Actually, I think in 100-something countries in all 50 states and D.C. So a lot of people listening, but we got a few more minutes here. I just want to ask you some just kind of off-the-wall stuff that things you said just made me think of, that maybe how I could serve you and my platform can help you. But someone hears us talking and they know who I am, they know who you are, and they think, man, it sounds like a company I'd like to be a part of, but they never worked in your industry. Do they have to have worked in your industry to be a great candidate, or do you truly hire for character and you can train competency in a lot of those jobs?
We absolutely hire for character and train for competency. I just hired a gentleman who is a former superintendent of schools, never been around an airplane other than to go on vacation once in a while with his family. But he was retired, and he had the character needed to go and run our what we call a consistency team, which is an audit team to make sure that we're driving the culture that we really want to have in our business. We've hired general managers directly out of NCO programs in the military. We've had Navy SEAL who ran an operation for us in Austin. He was amazing. We had a guy who was a Army logistics guy that ran our Dallas Fort Worth operation. Had never really been around airplanes except for their own personal use before. This business is not one that requires a great depth of industry knowledge, but it does require a great commitment. It's a tough job. It's a 24/7 gig, and it absolutely requires the right kind of character.
What does that look like for GAT? When, I know who you are and what you value, but everyone listening doesn't. So when you say the right kind of character for GAT, paint someone a picture, regardless of what industry they're in. They want to be in your industry. What traits are you looking for?
Yeah, so I'll tell you, it really does. I know a lot of companies have core values, but do they really live them? Is it just a poster on the wall? We've got 4. And these are the kind of people that we're looking for. And the way we do this is through sort of the Disney Institute's version of quality standards, which is not only do you have to have values, but you have to stack rank them so people know how to make decisions. So our number one core value is we never compromise safety. And there's a lot of pressures to compromise safety. On-time performance, KPIs, customers that are concerned about, certain elements. We need people that understand that no matter what, our people going home to their families in the same shape they came in and when they started the shift is the most important thing in the world to us. So never, never, never jeopardize safety, no matter what else you might have to jeopardize. Our second highest core value is we care. We care about our team members, about our customers, about their customers. We really need people in this organization that really do care about the people that work around them, not just this idea of a title, but you are their leader. You're responsible for their well-being and their outcomes, not only from a safety perspective, but in every aspect of the organization. The third is performance excellence. You got to be committed, driven, just absolutely want to be the absolute best you can be from a KPI perspective. You got to say that just meeting the goal isn't good enough. We have to blast it out of the water in order to be the best in the business. And the fourth is business excellence. Ultimately we have to return to our shareholders. So you got to control costs, and you got to manage finances, and you got to drive revenue. So none of that means you got to be a financial person, but you have to understand the operational levers to pull to be able to go do that. And we stack rank that. So if you're not going to meet the bottom line, that's fine as long as you meet the KPIs. And if you can't meet the KPIs, that's fine as long as it's for the purpose of making sure we're taking care of our team members. And if you have to violate a we care principle by yelling at a team member who's doing something unsafe, to make sure that they stop from doing that thing right away and don't injure themselves, and by all means do it, but don't jeopardize safety. So it's that true, you have to have that moral compass to have integrity at all times, but then you also have to be highly driven to want to be the absolute best in the business, and that's what makes a great leader at GAT.
That's some good stuff, Mike. So where can people find out about GAT?
Best and easiest place is to go to our website at gatags.com. It stands for Airline Ground Support. So again, gatags.com, and then look us up on LinkedIn and Twitter, and certainly our biggest place where we post positions is Indeed.com. You can find us in all those areas.
All right, sir. Well, I appreciate it. I know you're a busy man. I hope you have safe travels out there. It's been a pleasure to speak with you. Anytime you got a message, and I'd love to talk with you after you get Blue Collar Leadership through the ranks, because that book for the front lines, again, it touches everybody. That's going to be, you're going to see some traction when you really get into the meat of this stuff. I'm excited about what you guys are doing. I look forward to hearing about it and being a part of it.
Well, Matt, we couldn't have done it without your content, and I really appreciate just the fact that you are who you are, and you've been able to give us some tools that are invaluable, and I appreciate the time to chat with you about it.
All right, sir. Thank you for being on the Blue Collar Leadership Podcast today. And all right, everyone, that wraps up today's episode. Be sure to go check out GAT. They're doing some cool stuff, and you can find Mike Hough on LinkedIn as well. His last name's spelled Hough, and I think he's got his full name, Michael, on there. So Michael Hough, and you can learn about him. Talk to you guys next time.
Make it happen, or someone else will. It might as well be you. Are you serious about taking your career and your life to the next level and beyond? Check out Mack Story's Blue Collar Leadership series books and others now available on audio, along with paperback and ebooks at Amazon, iTunes, and Audible. Please visit bluecollarleadership.com to learn about Mack's books, programs, special offers, certifications, and more. Thank you for listening to the Blue Collar Leadership Podcast.